Good morning, it's May 16th, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Well, Joe Biden got an honorary doctorate degree this past weekend. It came from Howard University, one of the most prestigious black universities in the nation. But the reasoning for which they gave this degree was actually quite humorous. They said it was for his analytical intellect and popularity on both sides. Wow. I knew Joe Biden pretty well while he was serving in the Senate. He was competent, but never was he considered one of the brightest people in the chamber. This analytical intellect they speak of was never on display in the years I knew him. And to say that he is popular on both sides, well, I wonder what poll they're using. They must have meant both sides of the family dinner table, because his support of Hunter Biden's business endeavors has made them both popular within the family, also made them all rich. I suspect that somewhere on the campaign trail, Biden will mention his honorary degree and tell us once again how he graduated in the top of his class at Syracuse Law School. Of course, he will not mention that Syracuse is what is considered a Tier 3 law school. It ranks 122 on the list of law schools, and that he seems to have a failing memory on that issue. In fact, this analytical intellect was telling people as far back as 1987 that he was near the top of his class, and yet Syracuse Law School records show that he finished near the bottom. Here are his exact words in 1987 during his first run for president, which, by the way, he had to terminate when it was revealed that he was plagiarizing Neil Kinnock, a British politician, in his speeches. Biden has also been accused of plagiarizing in law school. Here's Biden's exact words from 1987, and presumably he was not suffering from dementia then, just flat out lying. Quote, "I went to law school on a full academic scholarship and ended up in the top half of my class. I won the international moot court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department as an undergraduate. I graduated with 3 degrees from college." He then told the person that interviewed him that he probably had a higher IQ than him. Well, as Warner Wolf used to say, let's go to the videotape, or in this case, the facts. He finished 76th in a class of 85, not exactly top half. He had a partial scholarship based on need, not academics, and took out student loans. Newsweek dug even further and discovered that Joe Biden did not win the political science award at the University of Delaware, as he claimed, and he did not have 3 degrees, but rather a BS in political science. This has been the history of Joe Biden, telling fantasies to various audiences and making up stories to make him appear to be something he's not. And as I said, nobody in the Senate considered Biden an intellect. In his response back in 1987, when his fantasies were called out by some in the media, quote, "I guess every single word I've said is going to be dissected now," end quote. Yeah, Joe, they were then and they will be today, and you keep making stuff up. Going back to his honorary degree at Howard University and his speech to the graduates. These commencement speeches are normally the type that talks about hope in the future for the graduates. It is a time when you are fully transitioning from being young students to adulthood, where they will have to enter the workforce. The speech should be uplifting, telling them they are the generation that can get things done. They should aspire to be leaders and not followers. But that was not what our president did this weekend. In keeping with the current tenor of his political oratory, it was a low, dispiriting affair, one that aptly captured the low, dispiriting nature of his presidency. Acerbic rhetoric from a partisan who demonizes opposition and divides Americans from one to another. Bottomless self-unawareness from a politician elected president almost accidentally in a moment of crisis, who continues to see himself as some sort of historical savior. Cynical cant from a serial fabulist whose distortions are becoming loathsome at the end, endless malign fictions that predecessors he despises and whom he desperately needs as a foil. While perfunctorily noted its successes, the challenges the graduates overcome and the opportunities ahead of them, the president chose to frame his remarks as yet another dark warning of an America where white supremacists roam the land and black people live in oppression and fear. Quoting him, "When it comes to race in America, hope doesn't travel alone," he said. "It's shadowed by fear, violence, and by hate. Fearless progress towards justice often meets ferocious pushback from the oldest and most sinister of forces. That's because hate never goes away," end quote. So Mr. Biden waxed about the poison of white supremacy, which he claimed is the most dangerous threat to our homeland security. Now remember, he was lauded by the university for his support from both sides, and yet he tries to demonize those who pit people against one another. Does anyone see the irony in his comment, when that is exactly what the tone of his speech and his current political rhetoric are doing, pitting one group against another? And I want to compare this to Biden's inauguration speech. After listing a litany of problems that we as a nation must overcome, and he, of course, all attributed to his predecessor. He said, quote, "It requires the most elusive of things in democracy, unity, unity," end quote. He followed it up with, quote, "In another January in Washington on New Year's Day, 1863, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. When he put pen to paper, the president said, 'If my name ever goes down into history, it will be for this act, and my whole soul is in it. My whole soul is in it.'" Well, Biden said on that January day that his whole soul is in this: bringing America together, uniting our people, and uniting our nation. I ask every American to join me in this cause. Well, and do any of you think that Joe Biden has tried to unify the nation? I don't think, and his constant use of derogatory terms such as MAGA shows he would rather divide us. His pandering to special interest groups is another form of dividing us. If there is a way to try and unify the people of this great nation, it's not with another 4 years of Joe Biden, and sadly, it's probably not with another 4 years of Donald Trump. Please, America, give us candidates we can vote for rather than candidates we vote against. This has been To My Liberal Friends. If you enjoy the podcast or you have a comment to make a comment below, but hit the subscribe button and recommend it to your friends. Thanks for listening.